Alright, I'll make sure this is recording. Okay. Alright. Okay, welcome to CATtheMinion YouTube channel. My name is Teresa, but you can call me Cat. I'm doing a slightly different video right now, and I'm hoping that my face is going to be in focus because when I'm using my actual camera, I can't really see. So what I want to talk about is gendering your inner child. This is something that I've discovered this week, and I think it's going to be really useful to everybody else. Okay, so the first point I want to make is that everybody already knows that we all have masculine and feminine within us. So if you are a feminine person, you will still have masculine energy. And if you're a masculine person, you will still have just that little dot speck of the feminine energy as well. It's how the yin-yang works. And the yin-yang is a flat representation of what's actually a toroidal system. So the spot in the center, or the little spot within the larger color, what we see is actually the funnel of the donut from that side. And then when you flip it over to the other half, the little spot is also the funnel, and they meet in the middle at this singularity. Okay, so it's constantly wrapping around in those two different energy systems, flowing in and out of each other. Okay, so you cannot separate masculinity and femininity. The only point being that usually you'll display one energy more than the other. It's separate from, it's basically separate from sexuality and gender identity, but it's how the energy that you move with. So for instance, I am a feminine, but in terms of what I would refer to as past lives, I'm used to being masculine, and it kind of displays in different ways for me. One of them being bisexuality, but I don't consider myself to be not a girl. I just consider myself to be not very girly. So it's always a spectrum, but if I had to pick one, I would say that I'm a feminine energy. It just maybe means that I've been forced to, or I've been used to operating in more of a masculine energy earlier in my life. Now, I've had a lot of trouble trying to reconcile my inner child, and I had a breakthrough this week, and what I realized was that I was gendering my inner child as female, because I remember myself as a girl child. I had dresses, I had dolls, I had jewelry. I don't think I ever had much play makeup, but I definitely did dress up and stuff like that. But I also was totally going to be a paleontologist. I had my own little toy cars and trucks. I had, you know, I wore pants also, and generally was interested in stuff that would normally be considered male gendered. And I think it's normal, it should be normal for children to experience any toys that are child appropriate, but that's kind of my opinion. The other thing that's important is in me remembering myself as a child and telling my inner child that it's a girl and a girl only, kind of blocked my progress. And I realized when I had my breakthrough that it was coming from male energy. So this interior voice of, you're not good enough, like, you suck, you're ugly, I hate you. Those things that come in with the ego that bind the inner child and keep it from being happy or carefree or growing up or whatever, the part that was still being held down for me was actually masculine energy. And that's why I was having trouble resolving it. So when you go in to do your shadow work and you work on your inner child, you have to remember that your inner child is also masculine and feminine. It's not just one or the other, or how you remember yourself, or what you wanted to be. If you're somebody who has struggled with gender identity or being assigned gender that you knew wasn't yours. If you're in that situation, you might have noticed at an earlier age that your inner child wasn't just one or the other polarity. But I think for most people, they won't realize that their inner child has aspects of both. So when you go in and you go to comfort your inner child, and you go to ask it what's wrong and hold it when it's crying, and go back to your memories that in some way confine you, hurt, and constrain you, and you hold your inner child's hand and you walk them through the memory, and instead of them being hurt, you protect them in the situation as if you were some kind of a chaperone for them, or like the muscle in the operation to protect them. You go in as your own guardian angel into your memories, and you protect your inner child, and you hold them and you go through them, and you say, okay, well, this is, you know, I'm with you now, and you honor them. But you also have to remember that the inner child will have aspects of either gender. And again, there's probably going to be one gender that's dominant, because, and I'm talking about energy, I'm not saying if your inner child is a girl, it also must be a boy. I'm saying that if your inner child is feminine, there will also be some masculine energy. I feel like children to a certain age tend to be more whole, they remember more stuff from being out of body, and they have a better understanding of life and death in the world and all that. But at a certain point, by the time their brain fully develops and they're like 3, 4, 5, you know, up to like 8 years old, they're not gonna remember all that anymore. It fades away as they get more involved in three-dimensional world. Once the brain circuits are wired for language, they start losing that kind of ethereal memory of being like a whole being. So when you do your inner child work, you really need to remember that there's going to be feminine energies and masculine energies, and it's natural for human beings to have that. You know, you don't, if you're a masculine person and your inner child was, you remember as being masculine, and your inner child was called a sissy and this and that, then your inner child will be wounded in a way that says that feminine energy is bad. And they're going to have to understand that they can be however they feel like they need to be. They're allowed to have anger, they're allowed to have sadness, and all those other things that we have to try to learn as adults as well. So I just want everybody to understand that. And I don't know if I've heard anybody talk about that yet. And again, it's something that I learned, I would say, the hard way. And I want to put that information out there in case it's going to be useful for other people as well. Okay? So, everybody has masculine and feminine energy. Most people, no matter how they... Some shitty ass fucking dickless truck screaming down the hill at 20 miles over the speed limit. Anyway, I lost my train of thought. That was so rude. Yes, okay. So, trying to remember where I was. Everyone has aspects of both masculine and feminine energies. And the same holds true for children and inner children. And if you have an inner masculine, then your inner masculine has an inner child. If you have an inner feminine, then your inner feminine has an inner child. That's the point that I'm trying to make. And you might find yourself stuck in your healing if you don't come to that realization. So I want to put that out there to help people. I'm going to slide down here and get my sign again. Alright, so I don't know if that's, let me see if that's actually in the camera. Kind of. Okay, here we go. So you can get tarot readings from me. You can get, I don't know if that's even going to be visible. I need a cameraman, I swear. Alright, so you can donate, Cash App, Venmo, PayPal. You can purchase a reading. You can purchase prints, merch. You can get actual art from my catalog. I have coloring books. I have a poetry book, which is also on Kindle. And yes, you'll find that a lot of my art is actually going to be similar in style to the pony cabinet that's behind where I was talking. All right, shut this off.